What's going on, guys? Bladezilla here, and today got another cool one for you. We've got the Shirogorov in collaboration with Tom Mayo, carbon fiber Dr. Death. Now, I don't know what order I'm going to be putting these guys out in, but you probably would have seen by now the Arctic Dr. Death, as well as the original full titanium Dr. Death. So this is the third, I believe, if you're watching this now, I believe this is the third one that I'm going to be putting out here. And we've got a cool one today to talk about. It's kind of like version 1.5 of the original tie. Well, you know, spoiler alert, compared to the Arctic. Just because it's basically a carbon-fronted titanium with a Vanax blade. But nonetheless, super, super cool knife. And we're going to talk about this today. So, grab a cup of coffee, or your favorite whiskey or whatever, and let's talk about it. As a quick reminder, check out my website, bladezilla.ca, where I feature a lot of the knives on this site that we feature on the channel. So I've got right now the Arctic Dr. Death. I just put that up, and a couple Koenigs, bunch of stuff, bladezilla.ca. So, quick shout out to the site. I know I like to do that all the time because, let's be honest, if I don't do it, what's the point? You know, I gotta give you guys a way to get a hold of me and take a look at some of the stuff. And if I have feedback, then we can talk about knives. So that's that. Let's get into it. Let's get some measurements on this beautiful knife, which has very light action, I should say, right? Just based on previous discussions around this design, it should have light action based on where the flipper tab is. Measurements. Here we go. 8 5/8 it looks like. If I'm going to eyeball this, 8 5/8 overall length to the glass breaker, which is on the tip, and just under 4 inches, maybe 3 3/4 to the end of the choil, somewhere under 4 to the middle. Handle, 4 5/8, something like that. Hopefully, 4 5/8, about there. So there you go. How does it fit in the line? Well, lucky for you guys, and lucky for me, the timing on this one is just about as good as it can be. We have the Arctic here to show, and I know I've done this comparison in the Arctic video, and we have another full tie. Now this one is different than the one that I featured originally, but nonetheless we have one. Comparisons between them. Funny enough, this is how they actually came out in order. So full tie first, which is this guy, carbon fiber, and then the Arctic. Now if we're looking at this for the first time, there's a couple things, and this isn't bigger than the rest, it's just the angle of the camera, okay? They're all identical size. Couple things. S90V on the full tie, Vanax 37, which is super cool on the carbon, and fairly rare for Shirogorov. They don't do a ton of Vanax, but every once in a while they do. And then Damasteel on the Arctic. If we're looking at these two, the proportions are almost identical all the way around, other than the Arctic, as you can see, captive pivot system, CPS, and the holes on the back side of this are full bore. So when I flip this guy around, you can kind of see the holes, if it wants to ever focus, are bigger than on the other two models, which actually cuts into the lock bar, as you can see. And furthermore to that, the lock bar cutout is actually upright here. That's this. Whereas the other two have a domed back and the cutout is internal. And, you know, watch, I put up a 46-minute video, my goodness, on this knife. And I talked about this, and what I think it might have something to do with is the lock bar on this just feels easier to manipulate in and out of lock. And I think it might have something to do with both the captive pivot system as well as this cutout. So I'll flip these guys over to show that, just because not everyone has seen that video, but you'll know exactly what I'm talking about as soon as you see it. There we go. So there we have it. S90V, Vanax, Damasteel. And look at the holes. Remember, this is the back side. The front side, they're all the same, the speed holes. So smaller, and then they get bigger. Kind of like a full bore situation. Even on the clip, it's bigger. So that's kind of the big differences between these top two and the, I guess, version 2.0, which is actually the third in the series. I think the proportions are identical in the first two. I could be wrong. There's always something. But as I get to look at this today, we're going to talk about that. And hopefully, if my brain isn't super foggy, I can pick up on some of these things. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So there we go. There's a nice kind of quick overview of these two guys. I know everyone always likes to see comparison videos and all that, which I'm getting, guys. I'm getting more here, so let's do some quick comparisons. We're going to do an F95, and we are going to do the Stellar. So there's your F95. There's our Stellar. Okay, we're going to try to line the pivots up best I can to kind of show, you know, depending on the angle, these guys are actually very similar in size. The handle of this is a little thinner, but I'm looking at it and I think it might be a little taller overall, but anyway, there's those two. We're going to grab our trusty Kami, or Cami. There you go. Nice little comparison there as well. And our Neon Custom Division as well. Beautiful knives. I love, love, love that knife. Our Quantum Sprint Run in Damasteel as well. And remember, if I move these guys around, if I just put that up there, like, look at the difference just in angle. The Neon's a significantly smaller knife, and maybe I should be doing this because it's more of a reasonable comparison that way. Our, what do you guys want? Molten Overkill next. We can do that. I get asked in all these videos, people love seeing all the comparisons. So there's your Molten. Obviously a lot taller, but it's a collaboration piece, right? So people like to know the difference in collaboration pieces. Our bios. This is the dark, I believe. So there's your bio dark. We also have a bio light here, in case you guys wanted to see just how different the angle of the dangle is. Love the bio. It's one of my favorite knives. And you see how much bigger, I'm looking at the camera now, this thing looks huge comparatively on the bottom versus the top. They're the same size knife. So please keep that in perspective. Let's move that back down. And what else do we have here that's special? We've got a Silk Slim F5, also a beautiful knife. And I think that might be it on the collaboration. I did the Cami, whatever you're going to call it. I do have one Quantum here I wanted to show. I haven't shown this knife yet on the channel. It's from a show in Russia, and it is cool. And that will be on the channel at some point. But very unique, one of 33, I believe. Pretty cool knife. 3 Bears Quantum. You're not going to find much information on this, I'm telling you that right now. Beautiful knife. Lots of detail, lots of milling, inlaid Quantum. Kind of has the aquatic look to it a little bit. Just a work of art. Vanax Blade. Incredible action. Multi-row bearings, I believe. And then what else we got? I guess we do a collab, or I guess special edition Icebreaker. You guys have seen that knife on the channel. I believe I've done a video on that one. By now, I'm assuming anyway. Beautiful knife, one of my faves. I love F95s. The Sebenza of Shirogorov. and I'm really starting to dig these Tom Mayos. So let's get into this guy. I know I've done, way more comparisons than I normally do, but I'm excited. I'm feeling frisky, and I'm jacked up on Mountain Dew. So let's go. So we've got the 5 speed holes. We look through, we see the blade. Beautiful. I love that. You see it on both sides as well. And through the pocket clip, we see the blade, which I think just looks sharp. You've got the classic cutout on the inside here of the lock bar so that it's just nice and smooth all around. Beautiful looking knife. Micro milling beyond belief. Smooth as silk on the back side. Just smooth as silk. The detail work is truly a cut above like anything, honestly. You've got a back spacer, titanium obviously, with a little bit of an icebreaker depending on how willing you are to damage the knife. But cool nonetheless, little toe on the back there. And to me this almost looks like the lines on the Quantum, as silly as that is, on the flipper tab. I kind of get a little vibe there, how it's built in. Speaking of the flipper tab, what strikes you guys as unique here? Look how far back that flipper tab is off the pivot. Okay, that's what gives this knife its, quote, slow perceived action. And if you read reviews on this, everyone, oh my god, the light detent, it doesn't feel snappy. No, it's because that flipper tab is far back. And if you think about it, it's like putting the gearing on a bike in a bigger, in like a bigger cassette in the back, a bigger chainring in the back. It makes it slow to turn. So with the right kick, it's no problem. But with a little kick, look, it shoots out 2/3. And that's not the knife's fault, that's just the design of the Dr. Death. And as you get used to it, like it's nothing. But compared to some of the other snappy, like an RJ Martin, yeah, you know, an RJ Martin, you can't even fail. You have to, you like literally click it, it won't move, and then it breaks and fires out. Whereas this, you can fail. It is on roller bearings, so rest assured it's silky smooth. The detent is pretty standard, but if you come back on the handle a little bit and hit it, it's not an issue. In hand, it feels like all the others. You've got a little bit of jimping on the top here, which is beautiful. It's kind of got a dagger silhouette to it when it is deployed. You know, it does look daggery. I love the look. The only thing I would change here is, you know, because I'm a bigger hand, I'm a 6'3" guy, extra large glove, you know, this could be smoothed out, I think. Because it just definitely feels out of place sometimes. With my finger, it wants to just fall right on top of that. But once I go ahead of it, it's a non-issue. You can choke up on the blade, there's still a surface up top. And as we get down to the end, I believe there's a little expansion out, which is cool. The Vanax is a beautiful choice for a blade like this. You know, highly corrosion resistance. Easily sharpened. Just a beautiful steel. I'd really love to see more Vanax. I don't know why it's so unused. I don't know if it's expensive or what compared to some of the other ones, but I love Vanax. It's just cool. It's a cool word to even say, Vanax. Yeah, it's Vanax. No big deal. The lock bar is easily accessed because of this little cutout here in the frame. So, I don't know if you guys can see this, it is a black carbon fiber handle, so there's this little cutout here and it feeds nicely onto the top of the lock bar. So, between this, the titanium original one had the same layout, whereas the Arctic does not have that little cutout. So see, it's just smooth, and I think that has to do with it being Alutex. And I don't know if you can actually do that same cut on this material without having problems. Where on carbon fiber, as you know, the resin is extremely resilient to machining. So you can do pretty well whatever you want. And I always thought this Dr. Death, the Arctic one, it really reminds me of like an old Easton hockey stick, because it's more of a composite material than carbon fiber. But nonetheless, we have a nice cutout for that lock bar, so it feels just smoother to access on the first two, the full tie and this. Super easy to get to. The flipper tab is machined beautifully well into the design here. It's a perfect match. It sticks out a little bit, and I remember reading somewhere that it's apparently a protection mechanism, I guess. See how it pops up just a hair, and these images are going to exaggerate the crap out of this. And then if we look further at that lock bar, you can see how it pops up just a little bit outside of the hole there. That's dug into the carbon fiber, that little canal. It's beveled, nice and smooth. Tons of micro milling on that, which is beautiful. We've got a replaceable lock bar insert on here, which, one you can tune between the two materials, titanium handle and the Vanax Blade. It's nice to be able to tune that material, but two, you can also replace it when the time comes, if you're a heavy user. We've got Shirogorov's standard screws. They're flathead on 1, 2, and 3. And on the lock bar, you don't typically see this small screw like this. That's kind of a custom division screw. It's usually Torx on a lot of the production pieces. So that's a nice little detail. Please don't use a screwdriver. It's not a good idea. Get the tool. Now as well, going back to this amazing backspacer, what do you guys see inside that? That's just incredible. Anything? How about the huge gigantic slot that's machined on the underside of a backspacer? Like, not needed at all. But first it shows you how centered the blade is, which is Shirogorov. It's centered. But secondly, it makes room for that blade to come up higher in the handle, right? Because it's cut out, which makes the design smaller. Just really well thought out. It's very light. It's probably a little over 3 ounces, I'm going to say. 3.4 maybe. 3.3. We'll find out. We'll find out together, as we always do. It's just... Shall I risk it and go grams first? 86. 3 ounces on the nose. There you go. 3 ounces. Ultra light. And for comparison's sake, we've got the regular Dr. Death at 3.4. Maybe that's where I'm thinking 3.4. The Alitex, I think, was a hair over 3. 3.4 as well, but this has a bead on it, so probably 3.2, 3.3. So very light. You know, it's at another weight point where it's like, 4-inch blade or less slightly with a 3-ounce overall package. Sign me up. This would fit in a suit jacket, it'd fit in jeans. You're not going to be jogging around and looking like you're excited to see someone, because it's not jumping all over the place. Although it's at a size where I guess you could see it a little bit. The pocket clip itself is, like I said earlier, it's super cool in that you can see through both the clip, and then the milling goes down through the frame into the blade. So you can look down at it, which is awesome. And coincidentally, you can look through the whole thing from both sides. Super cool. I think that's awesome. The one thing I don't like about the pocket clip is this, though, guys. What a weird little beak on that clip. So you've got 2 little bevels, and I was thinking long and hard about this while I was filming the Arctic Dr. Death video. I was going, what is the point of this little bump up top here? So I can understand this guy. Okay, you know, that's leaning onto the lock bar, the second lump in the clip. It's leaning on the lock bar, so you put weight on the clip. It doesn't transfer to this. Great. Sorry, it's leaning on the frame, not the lock bar. But the second little lip there, I think I know why it's there. Could be wrong. So it's over top of another hole. So if you put material in there, the hole's already going to create tensionless area for the jeans, or let's just say it's jeans. So you fill in some extra space by adding some to the clip. That's clever. That's what I think that's there. So that's what I'm thinking. Now, if I'm looking at the clip, I'm wondering how this is attached, so I'm assuming it's attached internally, which, yeah, there's a screw on the inside. Is there? I can't actually see. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay, you have to take the backspacer off, and then I think there's a screw underneath it. Let's take a look on the inside here while we're looking at the inside. So it's milled out like crazy on the titanium side, but on the carbon side there's nothing. Zilch. There, that shows it better. So lots and lots of material out of this guy, which is just phenomenal. It's I'm telling you guys, this thing weighs like a bug out in hand, and I love it. One of my faves, man. I love the bug out. Sadly, you know, I get asked all the time, what's my daily carry? It's either, you know, Quantum or F95 or Neon or bug out. Sadly, it's kind of evolved slowly. But this would be in there. Like, it's perfect because it's carbon, it's lightweight, it's Vanax, which is sexy as hell. The problem with this is there's not many of them, so it would be tough to replace. I did mention, I think, that it runs on roller bearings earlier. That's why it's so smooth. And I did want to show you on the inside here, you'll see both a number as well as, it should show how many of these are made. I don't know how close I can get or what number this is. I think it says, what, I think it says 189 or 199 if it wants to focus. Hopefully you guys can see that just above the pivot there. I can't see it on the screen if it's coming through, but right under my index finger here, you'll also see the little roller bearing logo, the little circle, but either 189 or 199, I can't see. I think 189. I think Travis Pastrana probably got 199. Little inside double backflip joke. But beautiful knife, just crazy detail all over the place. A couple things though that I would change. Everything can't be perfect, and considering this is the second version, they did improve it to go to the Arctic a little bit, both in the CPS, which was big, as well as the holes, which we talked about. Couple things though. What bothers, like if you guys have watched my channel long enough, what's bothering you specifically on the blade that's really annoying? Well, we've got the Tom Mayo and Shirogorov collaboration right on the blade in the line of cutting, which is kind of frustrating because I believe the other two, let's grab the full tie Dr. Death. It is on the handle here, which is beautifully done. But you can't do that on carbon fiber, can you? Right? There's no place for that on the handle. But wait, what if we put in a little plate on Alutex? Ah, the things you learn over time, right? So that's what I wish would have been on here in the first place, because I just think it looks so classy. And if you watched my video on this knife, one of my complaints actually was about this and how it's flat. The whole handle's machined 3D and has curvature to it, and this is flat. So it can still be improved. This guy is obviously Doesn't have that little flat surface, but it's all 3D. So you win some and you lose some. You can't have it all. So instead of a flat spot on the back here, you've got the nice fully rounded edges, which is beautiful, just like the original tie. And instead of an engravement there, they put it up here. Not a big deal, but certainly something to talk about. We have Vanax 37 written on the blade, in case you haven't seen that yet, which is one of the coolest parts. And then the detent ball. This is the other little complaint I had on the last Arctic. Not a big fan of that poking out. You know, it just kind of breaks the lines. I know the knife has like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 holes, including this little hole here. I know that. It's not perfect, and that would be 7. But the detent ball, it kind of annoys me that it's just sitting there. And it's like that on all of them. I've already shown that. It's, I guess you could have either increased the handle size to cover that, which would kind of now take away from the dagger look and the proportions and the ratios. It just wouldn't look right. Or, you know what, you just have an exposed detent hole. And you're probably thinking, you know, what's the big deal there? Well, if you're using it, cutting into things, say, you know, it'll fill with crud and junk and dust and dirt, and over time it's going to wear that detent track out, and the hole is just going to pack with all kinds of things that shouldn't be in there. And it just, I don't know, just personal preference. So sometimes there's a hole, you don't always have to put things in there. That's what she said. Otherwise, super cool knife. Love it. You know, I'm a firm believer. Like, I wish they would do a version 4, right? They've done 1, 2, 3. I'd love to see what they do in 2023 with some of their new, you know, CPS, some of the cool hardware, some of the new grinds they're able to do, some of the new milling techniques. I think they'd be able to do such a cool full tie Dr. Death. I think that'd be so cool. That'd be such, I'd love to see that. I should also say the jimping on the flipper tab is phenomenal. Nice and grippy, and it just begs for a nice flip, like a light switch. Just, it needs that. Super cool. And even the carbon on this just pops. It's a fairly matte finish with some good texture to it. Whereas modern Shiros, because this one's from like 2016 maybe. Modern Shiros, their carbon tends to be a little smoother. This is a little rougher as well. Modern day prices on this in 2023, they range from, I've seen them on the low end, high 1000s for like a used, you know, like 1.8, 1.9. Most ones, low 2s, mid 2s, pretty common. US. And they're only going to go up in price because there's limited ones, and I find that every now and then, like a steel like Vanax is just super sexy, and then people are asking for them, and oh, what models of Shiro have Vanax? Oh, I need to get it. And this is one of them. This, the jeans, a couple other ones, but pretty cool knife. Fits the hand well. Other than this, which is you get over on that. It's not a big deal. Lots of room for your gloves if you want to wear one, which you don't need to. Just nice, beautiful knife overall. Really impressed with it. You know, if I was picking a single knife in the series, they all do something a little different. They're all, you know, they all have their pros and cons. You know, it would be, in my perfect world, you guys know me, I like plain Jane titanium. So if you combine all three into one mega knife, I would love a plain Jane tie with the modern features of the Arctic at the weight of the carbon. Because, you know, you'd mill out both sides instead of just one, make the holes bigger on the back. This captive pivot, man, like, I don't know why they're not doing another version of this. because it's just such a good knife. Like, how sick does that look? The first time I saw this, I'm like, man, that's way too long of a knife. It looks ridiculous. I thought it was way bigger than it is, and it's not. It's smaller than an F95. And it's proportionally just great with that blade out. Nice mirror on the edge. I don't know if you guys, if the camera's going to pick that up. It's just a terrific overall design. Like, it's phenomenal. Smooth. Oh, I love this knife. And, you know, the one thing is, I'm allowed to be picky about these knives. You know, I'm always saying, like, this is what I'd change. This is what I don't like. This is whatever. And it's like, it's 99% there. But these little tweaks at this price point, you're allowed to be picky. You're allowed to say, this is what I don't like. This is what I like. Whatever. You're allowed to do that. It's not a Civivi. So anyway, that's just my thoughts on this guy. I think it's so cool. Lots of real cool design features. Oh, I guess I didn't mention the over travel stop on there. But let's just do a quick review. Good hand, good ergos, Vanax steel, no captive pivot system, 5 speed holes with the reduced size on the back, icebreaker, not icebreaker, window breaker, glass breaker. I guess you could also break ice with it. Lock bar insert, internal cutout on the lock bar, beautiful clip, speed holes, carbon fiber. Super sick all around. Roller bearings, love it. There you go. Alright, well, I think I'm going to cap things off there, and I think if everything went smooth, I should have all 3 of these up on the channel, which is awesome. It's always nice to build a little bit of a library of these things, and it'd be cool to see what I think, you know, a year or 2 down the road when I look at this. It's, you know, 2023, and when I'm filming this, late in the year, and I'd love to see how these videos age, because who knows what's coming out soon. Who knows? Alright, well, thanks for checking this guys out, and yeah, we will catch you guys later. Check out the website, bladezilla.ca. Like, subscribe, share. Go on Instagram, follow me. Check out the store, all that good stuff. And until next time, we will catch you around. Peace, guys. See ya.